So I'll be talking about the diagnosis of NAFLD at various levels of healthcare, and this will be in relation to the recently launched operational guide for the integration of NAFLD into the national program for prevention and control of cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and stroke. So I'm going to keep it very short in the interest of time. The operational guidelines describe the operationalization of diagnosis till the level of the district hospital. And so I'll start from the community level and I'll make my way through the primary health center level and community health center level to the district hospital. And I will talk very briefly about some non-invasive tools that can be used for the diagnosis of advanced fibrosis. So if we take a look at the NAFLD spectrum, it is evident that only a minority of people land up with clinically significant liver disease. And a key determinant of outcomes in non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is the presence of fibrosis, particularly advanced fibrosis, which is a key determinant as to whether the patient lands up with hepatocellular carcinoma or cirrhosis. And so the methods described in the operational guidelines, they aim to, apart from diagnosing NAFLD, they aim to be able to accurately stratify individuals into low and high risk for having fibrosis. So this is done at various levels. At the community level and at the primary health center level, what we aim to do is pretty much just assess the presence of risk factors for NAFLD. And so we do this by collecting data on these risk factors and assess and identify those individuals who may be at a high risk of having non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And then higher up at community health centers and district hospitals, we aim to diagnose NAFLD and to be able to stratify individuals for advanced fibrosis. So we do this using laboratory tests and imaging. So ultrasonography, and at the district hospital, transient elastography. So the first step is to identify patients who should be screened for NAFLD. Second step is to diagnose NAFLD, and this is through imaging and exclusion of other causes of fatty liver. And the third step is risk stratification, which involves identification of those individuals who are at risk of fibrosis, because these are individuals that could benefit from an early referral to a specialist. So at the community level, the accredited social health activist, the ASHA worker, she's equipped with something called the community-based assessment checklist. And so this checklist contains items to collect information on risk factors and symptoms for common non-communicable diseases. So she will collect data on abdominal obesity using cutoffs of 90 and 80 in men and women, respectively. She will also collect personal and family history of diabetes, hypertension, coronary heart disease. So this was already being done as part of population-based screening. But she will also collect information on liver diseases and gallstones and cancers. And considering the close and strong association of diabetes and obesity with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, these individuals, the ones who have diabetes and obesity, will be referred to a sub-center or a health and wellness center. And so the next two levels, at the level of a sub-center and the level of a primary health center, what will happen is just validation of this assessment of risk factors that the ASHA worker has done. And so the health worker, or also called the auxiliary nurse midwife, the ANM, she will validate all the individuals that the ASHA worker refers to her. And so the same parameters, so abdominal obesity, BMI, personal family history, and in addition to this, pedal edema. So she's already trained to identify pedal edema. She's been doing that in pregnant women. And so this will just be something that can be applied in this setting. So in the primary, at the primary health center level, the medical officer will once again validate the risk assessment done at the community level. And so he will examine the patients and he will check for BMI, obesity, abdominal obesity, and risk factors. In addition, any individual who presents to him with a report of an abnormal LFT or a report of incidental detection of steatosis on ultrasound will also be eligible to be referred to a community health center. Also, the medical officer can take help of teleconsultation, and so he can actually talk to individuals at the hub, the medical colleges and centers of excellence, and consult them with regard to signs to detect chronic liver disease and so on. Now, at the secondary care level, which is a community health center, it is stipulated in Indian public health standards that there should be an availability of liver function tests and complete blood counts. And most community health centers are able to achieve getting these done with the help of public-private partnerships. So they're outsourced to labs. Now, these two blood tests, they equip us with enough information, and in addition to this, some information from the history, that equips us with enough parameters to be able to calculate two scores. And so these scores are the FIB-4 score and the NAFLD fibrosis score. So fibrosis-4 and NFS. And these are basically serological markers to be able to detect advanced fibrosis in individuals who have NAFLD. So while it's desirable that we be able to diagnose NAFLD at a community health center using ultrasound, realistically, it's not really available at a lot of PHCs. And so regardless of the availability of an ultrasound, we want to be able to calculate these scores. And so I will tell you how they are calculated. But first, how they are used is that these scores are calculated using these biochemical parameters and some history. And then we stratify individuals into low risk and high risk. So very high scores and very low scores are quite useful. A very low score is able to correctly rule out advanced fibrosis and NAFLD. And so these individuals will be referred back to the PHC for lifestyle modifications and management of risk factors like diabetes, dyslipidemia, hypertension, weight reduction. And those patients have to be followed up every 3 years. Those who are assessed to be at high risk of advanced liver fibrosis, so very high scores, they are referred to a district hospital for management of advanced fibrosis, or rather a tertiary care center or to a specialist for screening for portal hypertension and screening for hepatocellular carcinoma. Now, scores in the middle, they leave us in a bit of a dilemma. And so these individuals require further evaluation at a district hospital. And I will elaborate further what happens to these individuals. Now, how these scores are calculated is like this. This is the fibrosis-4 score. It has 3 biochemical parameters, the AST, the ALT, and the platelet count, and of course, age. So the older you are, the more likely you are to have fibrosis. And also platelet count predicts portal hypertension, AST, ALT measures of fibrosis. And so you plug in these parameters into an online calculator like MDCalc, and there are several other applications, Android-based and iOS-based, and it will churn out a score for you. And as I alluded to earlier, very low scores and very high scores are very useful. Very low scores are useful for ruling out. It's extremely good at ruling out. And we can be fairly certain that an individual with a very high risk, high score is at high risk of advanced fibrosis. There's also another score called the NAFLD fibrosis score, which takes into account all of these 4 parameters, but in addition, also BMI, the presence of impaired fasting glucose or diabetes, and albumin. So albumin, a measure of synthetic dysfunction. And so all of these parameters go into that calculator. Once again, it's an online calculator that the ANM can also use, and can also be used by wherever there's a facility for LFT and CBC. So we're able to stratify this. So the properties of the scores, you can see here that it has a very good negative predictive value and pretty good sensitivity. So they're extremely good at ruling out individuals who do not have advanced fibrosis. Also, there are a couple of studies that report that the area under the ROC curve is quite good, around 0.8 for these scores. It has been used in other settings like the UK as part of the primary care pathway. And they've reported that they were able to reduce unnecessary referrals to specialists by a great amount. So they reported about 80% relative risk reduction in inappropriate referrals to higher centers by including these serological markers into the primary care pathway. And so that is what is envisaged in this program as well. Now, lastly, at the secondary care level of a district hospital, we would expect these district hospitals to have ultrasonography. So we will be able to diagnose NAFLD at a district hospital. In addition, those that were classified as indeterminate risk undergo a test at the district hospital called the transient elastography, more commonly known as the FibroScan trade name. And so this FibroScan is further more accurately able to stratify low and high risk for advanced liver fibrosis. And so low risk individuals are referred back to primary care for management of risk factors and follow-up, lifestyle modifications and therapy for risk factors. And high risk, those who are classified as high risk are referred to tertiary care centers or specialists. They are managed for portal hypertension and screened for hepatocellular carcinoma. Just a word about the FibroScan. It's an ultrasound-based technology. What it does is that it sends a mechanical energy wave through the liver parenchyma. And so the stiffer the liver, the faster it conducts that energy wave. And so it measures the shear wave velocity. So it's a measure of liver stiffness. And the fibrosis is reported in the form of kilopascals. Now, the cutoff used is different depending on the underlying liver disease, but a commonly used cutoff is 7.9, which signifies a fibrosis of grade F2 to F4. So it's good for advanced fibrosis. It is able to distinguish advanced fibrosis. It also gives a measure of the amount of fat in the liver. And so this measure is the controlled attenuation parameter, or the CAP score. And so the CAP score has cutoffs that are able to classify steatosis grade. So S1 is 248 to 268, S2 is 268 to 280, and S3 is higher than 280. Interestingly, transient elastography originated in France, where it was used initially to see whether cheese was ripe or not. So just an interesting fact there. And lastly, at the tertiary care level, the specialist will, at his discretion, use a whole array of tests using his technical acumen. So CT, MRI, magnetic resonance spectroscopy, and biopsy for candidates who he deems eligible to have a biopsy, which is the gold standard. Thank you.